episode has been brought to you by Schedulicity.
Welcome to episode 110 of the Connected Yoga Teacher Podcast. Today we hear from Lisa Zaehringer. Quite a while ago, Lisa had a consultation call with me, and she was telling me that she was moving every 2 to 3 years due to a military lifestyle, and each time she had to reach out to new yoga studios and explain her yoga offering. At the time of her consultation call, I suggested a proposal package that Lisa could give to yoga studios, and she came back with a proposal package with so much detail that I was really blown away by this, and I wanted to share it with all of you. I asked Lisa, she said a full yes. Huge bonus, she's actually shared all 5 parts of her proposal package so you can see what it looks like. These links are on our show notes page at theconnectedyogateacher.com/110. Creating and having a proposal package ready can be so handy as a yoga teacher, especially when you niche down like Lisa has and you create a really unique yoga offering. Having a proposal package ready to go allows you to say yes to an opportunity when it arises. And this is also an amazing way to really clarify your unique yoga offering, when you can offer it, what that looks like. Maybe you've been thinking about reaching out to a yoga studio, or you want to be a speaker at a conference or a workshop. This proposal package is something that is so useful. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Shannon Crow. I'm a mother of 3, a yoga teacher, and a trainer and consultant working for yoga teachers. Returning listeners, welcome back. It is so great to have you here again. You know that this podcast was created for you so that you can connect to information and inspiration every single week and feel supported as you navigate the jungles of yoga entrepreneurship, where you're traveling to classes, doing your accounting, answering emails. I get it. And the content that we create and put on this podcast and on our website and in our Facebook group is there for you. If you are not already a member of our Facebook group, go to theconnectedyogateacher.com and look for the join button right on our homepage. Before we meet Lisa and learn how to create a proposal package, let's hear our hot tip of the week from Shayna at Schedulicity.
Hello, Connected Yoga Teachers. This is Shayna with your Schedulicity Hot Tip of the Week. The art of yoga has been handed down from teacher to teacher for the last 5,000 years. The internet, while born in the 1960s, has really only been around as we know it since the 1990s. It changed the way we do everything, and it continues to evolve every day. While you worry about mastering and sharing 5 millenniums worth of physical and spiritual wisdom, Schedulicity can keep you up to date. Spend your time mentoring students, not managing appointments.
Thank you so much, Team Schedulicity and Shayna. Lisa Zaehringer is a Yoga Alliance registered yoga teacher who completed her 200-hour teacher training in 2011. Lisa completed her 300-hour advanced certification in yoga therapeutics in 2013. Her work as a yoga teacher complements her profession as a mental health counselor. In her yoga business, she supports mothers of all ages as they reconnect with self, reclaim rest, and practice compassionate self-discovery. I am so excited that you're going to get to hear how Lisa aims to help mothers to foster life balance by offering a sacred space for them to slow down, nourish self, and become grounded so that they can show up for their families in the best way possible. Lisa currently offers the Sacred Motherhood Restorative Practice, Sacred Baby 8-week course, and Sacred Pregnancy Weekend Retreat. Welcome to the Connected Yoga Teacher Podcast, Lisa. It's great to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Shannon. I'm happy to be here.
I really wanted to bring you on today and talk to you about the package that you developed for yoga studios when you want to host your workshops. But before we get into that, can you tell me a little bit about your background and the work that you now do?
Yes, I am a yoga teacher and a counselor. Currently, I'm offering a monthly mini retreat for mothers called Sacred Motherhood Restorative Practice.
Nice. And you're also a mom?
Yes, that's probably my first role or my first job is I am a stay-at-home mom. Yes.
And so is that what made you develop this? Like, when did you think, oh my gosh, this is what new moms need?
Oh, that's a good question. When I became a mom, around when my son was 6 months old, I was craving connection and community, I think more than I ever had in my life. And so I sought out a mommy and me yoga class. And I would drive almost an hour all the way to Nashville, Tennessee to Bluma Yoga and take this class. And one time when I was standing in line to pay, there was this book. Do you ever have that moment where a book like glows at you off the shelf and it's exactly what you need in that exact moment?
Yes.
And I was having that experience, and the book was called The Mother's Guide to Self-Renewal by Renee Trudeau. And I bought it that day, and I thought, oh, I was at that time, I was not working at all. So when I became pregnant with my son, I really wanted to enjoy the pregnancy and be with the pregnancy. And so I stopped working and I started to get this nudge, if you would, to start teaching again. But I wasn't at a point where I was ready to teach weekly yoga classes. I just put so much into my planning and I felt like that wasn't going to feel balanced. And so this book, The Mother's Guide to Self-Renewal, she offered, when I got to the end, she offered a training called Personal Renewal Group for Women.
Okay.
And so I signed up for that training and I love learning. I love being a student and I was craving that so much at that time in my motherhood journey. And so this was a perfect fit. I was able to do this online training and I began offering this in my community, the Personal Renewal Group for Women. And it sort of all grew from that place. And then I just wanted to find a way to fine tune it for just mothers, for mothers only. And then Sacred Motherhood Restorative Practice was just this smorgasbord, this tapestry of all the trainings and workshops and books and real life experiences and teachings I had along the way. It just sort of evolved over time on its own. I have a caretaker who comes to our house 2 mornings a week from 10 to 1. And ever since my son was 9 months old, and that was like my sacred self-care time. And it was during that sacred self-care time where I started creating this. And it just became this really, this precious time of just creating and connecting with myself. And then knowing that I would hopefully share this with other moms someday was just really inspiring and gave me purpose while I was a stay-at-home mom.
Right. That's amazing. I love how you talk about how this gave you purpose because I remember feeling in the days of like changing diapers and doing laundry, thinking, is this my purpose? Like this doesn't really feel like
Right.
my potential is being met. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And just feeling like there was more to this motherhood journey, just finding a way to feel inspired and feeling the sacredness of motherhood instead of like the changing, the mundane, and sleeplessness and that sleep deprivation and that who am I now? Answering those and getting into deep, heartfelt conversations of who am I now that I've transitioned from maidenhood to motherhood. What does that mean? And it changed. Like as my son would grow, the answers to that question would change. And so I really wanted to find a way for mothers to, because I was searching for myself and just talking with other friends or reading blog posts. I was like, well, I'm really not alone in this. And so I wanted to find a way for mothers to reconnect with themselves, reclaim rest, and practice honest self-discovery. That's really how this was born.
Oh, I love it that it came out of something that you were craving for yourself and then you designed it and made it this unique offering. So what does it look like when you share the workshop? Like how long is a typical workshop?
Sure. So I call it a mini retreat. And it's funny, right? I saw somebody recently in your Facebook group, the Connected Yoga Teacher Facebook group, somebody asked that question. And I love that because I pondered that same thing. Is this a workshop? Is this a retreat? Is this an immersion? What is this? And I ended up going with mini retreat because it's 3.5 hours long. And I felt like there was this component of really delving deep, like doing this inner work, right? And so it was a little bit more than a workshop, a typical workshop. It was like this more like this inward experience. I'm just going to read to you, if you don't mind, the
Yeah,
definition.
I would love that.
So I have here, and this is actually part of this proposal package I put together when I'm reaching out to yoga studios to offer this at their space. But Sacred Motherhood Restorative Practice is a monthly reverent and cathartic experience of restorative yoga and connection. Each mini retreat has a theme that ceremoniously weaves together restorative, gentle yoga, inspiring writing prompts, deep dialogue, guided meditation, manifesting and releasing, and a mama project. And so there's a theme each month. So it's a program, it's a year-long program where there's a theme each month uniquely related to motherhood. And there's a mama project that goes along with that as well.
Nice. I love how also what's weaved in is your background in counseling. Like that's
Yeah.
really evident in everything you do.
Yeah, just knowing how to hold space, I think, is where I bring my counseling background in, is just knowing how to hold space for that group dynamic to flow and to feel like a safe and sacred container for people to really show up unapologetically and authentically and with vulnerability, making it safe enough where people can feel vulnerable, because I believe that that's where connection happens, when vulnerability is met with compassion. And then that's how connection between two humans happen. And so I try to keep that in the background when I'm facilitating.
Thank you for sharing that. Fast forward to where you designed this, you spent the time, you really put the work in. What prompted you to create this package? Like, how did that come together?
So we're an active duty military family, and we move on average every 2 to 3 years. And because we move so much, I wanted to find an authentic, creative way to be able to approach yoga studios in the new hometown where I had zero credibility.
Right.
So that's kind of where this all started. And I'm really inspired by this quote by Cheryl Strayed. She wrote the book Wild: From Lost to Found on the Pacific Crest Trail. And so what I try to do when I created this proposal package, I wanted it to come through radiating the essence of Sacred Motherhood Restorative Practice, right? I wanted it to really reflect what this is about. It's kind of like a pre-interview, if you would. So here's the quote. The quote is, "There's always a sunrise, always a sunset, and it's up to you to choose to be there for it," said my mother. "Put yourself in the way of beauty." So what that meant to me was I didn't want this to just be this like resume that I handed. I really wanted this whole complete package that was like, this is who I am and this is what my offering is all about. And I wanted to find a way for them to really connect. I guess connection, it was a big part of it too.
When you and I first spoke, you were telling me about not only your big vision goal, but then also these workshops. And I remember part of the challenge was that it's not like I'm offering a restorative yoga class and a lot of studios will know what that is.
Right.
It was really like, I'm offering this thing and I don't know anyone else offering it. So
exactly. So trying to even explain what it was a big challenge, is a big challenge, trying to explain like what this is, because it is a little bit more than just like a typical yoga class. It just weaves in all these different beautiful components. And so I wanted them to try to somehow feel that come through in the package.
So then walk us through once you had created the package, and I'm happy to share it with our yoga teacher listeners. And I'm so glad that you're also happy to share it,
Absolutely.
the example of it so that they can see what it looks like, because we're doing this all audio. Tell us as much as you can through audio, what is in the package that you provide?
Okay, so there's 5 components. And the first piece is the proposal, like the actual proposal piece. So what does that mean? To me, that means what I'm proposing or offering to the studio, I mean, that can help complement whatever they're offering at their space. And I created it on a handmade card, and nothing really fancy, really quite simple. So I just picked out some beautiful cardstock that I liked, and I cut it, and then I folded it, and then I cut it into the same size and shape as a greeting card. So when they got this first piece that's in the package, when they would open it, it felt like a greeting card. So it wasn't like your typical standard 8.5 by 11 resume.
Right.
And so there's just so many beautiful cardstock pieces out there. And I just wanted to find something that reflected what Sacred Motherhood Restorative Practice was all about. And then I went through and I just wrote, like, the first piece in the proposal is just introducing myself professionally. I'm reaching out to propose an offering I believe would be an enriching compliment to your studio. And I tried to personalize it as much as I could. So greetings, and then to the studio owner, and then weaving in their name when appropriate throughout, and weaving in the name of their yoga studio throughout. And then I just described what my offering is in as much detail as I could, but keeping it short and simple at the same time, respecting and honoring that there's precious time that they're spending reading this,
Mm-hmm.
And then also explaining just some of the logistics around it, like how often it's held, how much time it takes up in a day, the duration, the cost. And I also just said included in this proposal package are these other items. And I thank them. But I hope you can put a copy of this if you want to up on the notes for the podcast.
Yeah, I'd love that. Let me just tell the listeners, I can kind of see it here, and that it's typed out. So it's not handwritten.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
I did sign my name at the bottom just for that personal touch.
I like how you put their name in. It's not like dear studio owner, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Just a generic thing.
To really help connect and just personalize it.
Okay. And then what other pieces are there?
The second piece is I include a suggested schedule and themes. So if somebody has a workshop or retreat, that would be good language, but maybe other language would be your availability to teach a class. So I wanted to be really clear and concise up front when I'm available or when this would be offered. And so I literally just listed it out. So I went month by month, and this is a monthly offering. So I put an exact date, for example, January 27th, 2019. I put the theme of that monthly retreat. And I also included some pictures of what it looks like, what the setup looks like. Again, just to give a feeling of what this is all about and try to describe it. And then I gave one more short blurb at the bottom of what the Sacred Motherhood Restorative Practice is about.
I love this date idea because this just cuts out a lot of the back and forth. The studio can quickly look, is our space even open at that time?
Yes.
And you have it all laid out.
Exactly. And I did put a little blurb up there when the listeners peek at it. I did say something like, there's flexibility in this. This is just a suggestion. I wanted to give that option, of course.
Great.
And then the next document I included is a flyer, in which I have to give kudos and gratitude to our group because I reached out like last year sometime and got a lot of positive, helpful feedback on just how the aesthetics of the flyer. But I used Canva, which I also learned through your Facebook group. And I put their exact name on the flyer just so that, again, just that connection feeling.
Oh, that's so cool because it's like tangibly they can see this is what it would look like and does this represent. One thing I have to note about your flyer is that it gives me this feeling of like sacredness, ritual, like a warm, cozy motherhood. And I definitely get the sense that it's like artsy or crafty or creative. All of those things kind of speak to me right away.
Good. That's what I was going for. So good. And then the next document, I called it the sequence of events. And I actually have this in my welcome booklet for the mothers. But again, I tried to choose photos that were representative of what we do during our time together, our gathering. And so this is just a picture of like one of the mama projects. It's a candle for their altar. But I wanted the studio owner to see what we do. And so I just listed it all out here. And again, just the photos and the wording and the colors, just all reflective of the essence of the offering. Just again, another concise, clear way of saying this is what this offering is all about.
I need to ask, where did you get the images?
So there is a platform, I guess you can call it, called Sacred Living Movement, created by Annie Dolter. And I've done trainings through her, and through her trainings, I received, I don't know the right word, where you have permission to use the stock photos. That's where a lot of these photos come from, my website and the flyers.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, sacredlivingmovementuniversity.com.
Okay. I will make sure that we put a link in the show notes.
Okay. And also, she was really generous. Before I did the trainings, I had reached out to her on Facebook. She has a group called Sacred Pregnancy. If you just enter that in the search engine on Facebook, and
Yeah.
she has tons of beautiful, gorgeous photos on there. And I reached out to her, this is years ago, and I said, "Oh, your photos are gorgeous. May I use them on my website with your permission?" And she said, "Absolutely. Just make sure you give credit to Sacred Pregnancy." And so that would maybe be another way to get permission to use them as well.
Nice. Oh, that's so good. So that's 4 pieces of the package. So what's the last piece?
The last piece, this is a gift of, I call it a gift of gratitude, just because I just feel like for somebody to sit there and look through this probably takes like 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, but to sit here and take time to look at it, I wanted to show gratitude for that time that they spent, because time is precious. And so I created this. It just fit nicely in the folder, but it's a 5x7 photo. And then it has one of my favorite quotes. It's an excerpt from A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson.
Oh, nice.
I created it in a 5x7 because I wanted it to be able to be framed, like maybe something they can put in the studio, or maybe even leaving it out of the frame and they can put it in the bathroom or on the back of the door, or just on their own, their fridge at home, or gift it to somebody, however they felt moved to use it.
It's beautiful. I love that. That's a really nice idea. So when I looked at the package, I was like, oh, wow, this isn't salesy at all. This is just like a little token of a gift. That's great. And so you compiled this all. And what does it look like when you go to approach a studio? Where do you begin?
Okay, so I can break it down into 7 different phases. So before we actually move to the area, I go onto Google Maps and I search for a studio that's like within the range that I'm willing to travel. So that's like the first really, really basic step. And then from there, I virtually research the studios to find studios that align with my values, my work ethic. I can kind of start getting a feel for that based on their website and the bios, the backgrounds of the owners and the teachers that work there, and can start to get just a feel for the studio. And so I keep start narrowing it down. And then the third phase is I choose classes and write out a schedule from the narrow down studios that I picked, right? I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I have to pick classes that work well with my schedule. And my husband's home to care for our son, and just find classes that I feel like really resonate with my personal practice. And I not only do that, but I also try to make sure I find a class that is taught by the owner as well.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, just to get a feel for the studio, the whole process. What is it like to walk into this space? Does it feel like a warm welcome? What is the process of the signing up and registering for a class? Like just really paying attention. Is it on a noisy street? Is there a fire station nearby? Like just those little nuances, little things that really are big things when you're choosing a space to teach at. Of course, I attend the classes. I guess that would be like the 4th phase is attending the classes. And then the 5th phase is starting to choose the studios that most align with what I think would be a good seamless fit for Sacred Motherhood Restorative Practice.
Based on all of that, so you start first with the location, then you take a look. I think this is important for studios to know that teachers are potentially looking at the website to decide on a space.
Yes.
And then you're attending in person. So you take
Right.
all of that information, then you think, okay, is my program a good fit here?
Exactly. Because I feel like the website is the introduction. It's like window shopping, right? Like you're window shopping in some stores, just you feel like, ooh, I want to go in there. That looks like they sell stuff that I would be interested in. I feel the same way about websites. I feel like it's how much time was spent just paying attention to the details. How user friendly is it? Is it up to date? Even the Facebook pages, I think, of yoga studios, how are they marketing for the teachers? Are they marketing for the teachers? What kind of things are they posting? Are they posting useful tips or funny memes? And I just think it all is a sort of reflection on the studio's values.
Yeah. So that's up to phase 5. Is that right?
Right. Yes. And so then I choose the studio. So to really narrowing it down. So this is the part I'm like, okay, how many proposals am I going to have to print out at this point? So like, for example, where we live now, we have 14 yoga studios within that 30-mile radius. And so I just had to keep narrowing it down. And I finally narrowed it down to 4.
Okay.
Where we previously lived, there was only 2. And then where we previously lived, I just knew there was this one I really, really wanted to be at. So I just approached this one. So the first one I used this process with, the first space, she said, yes, come on board. The second space was 2 for 2. So 2 of the places I reached out to said, yes, we would love to have this offering here. And then just recently, of the 4, 3 places, I'm so humbled and so grateful and so surprised because there's some doubt and fear that bubbles up each time, like, oh, is anybody going to get this? Is this going to make sense to anybody? So it's really just validating and exciting to hear a studio say, yes, come on, we would love to have this offering here.
So did I get that right? That 3 or 4 of the spaces out of the 4?
3 of the 4. So I was really excited. And then, so phase 6, I hand deliver the proposal packages. So I don't email them. I don't snail mail them. I physically hand deliver them, and I make eye contact and just authentically, warmly smile at the person I'm giving it to. I write the name of the studio owner in this beautiful gold Sharpie, just those little things that say really care about the time you're putting into reading this, right? Really taking the time to pay attention to those beauty way details. And then the last step, step 7, probably the hardest step, is just waiting. The waiting, that like sweet surrender and trust, right? Just wherever this is meant to happen is where it's going to happen. I love this quote that the universe is always conspiring in our favor, and just trusting that if this is meant to land here, it will. And so I wait and wait and wait and wait. And every time my phone dings, oh, is it them?
One detail that I'm curious about. So if 3 places say yes, do you then have to choose again, or are you set up to go for those 3 places?
I'm so glad you asked that. And that's actually at a point where I contacted you for a consultation, because it was the first time where I had to make a choice, and it was a really tough decision. And so that's when I called you, and you helped give me some clarity around some of the financial piece. I wasn't ever in a place where I could financially negotiate the offering, and that's where you really helped bring some insight. And so, so I sat down with each owner, and I felt like it's like a mutual interview. So I'm interviewing them as much as they're interviewing me, and asking them questions, even around logistics, around things like how the heating works and the air conditioning works, like really trying to understand what brought them to yoga. I like hearing their story. And then, of course, they ask a lot of questions to me as well. And then the financial piece. And then I kind of decide from there. There's sort of like this soul searching that goes into it too, right? In this meditative process, but also just making a decision based on some of the logistics as well, like proximity to home and the aesthetics of the space, but also the energy. It's so important to me to work with leadership that is just inspiring and encouraging. And so that's a big piece too of choosing a space.
Oh, that's so good. I hope our listeners are hearing that most of the phases, most of the work that you put into this. First of all, I want to say kudos to you for having this really clear intention, not only what your offering is, like you crafted it so well, and you basically had to invent it, which I encourage every yoga teacher to do. I feel like we can't offer a cookie cutter thing when we're so unique and we have different skills and gifts. But then the intention that you put into it, like every step where you're talking about making eye contact, using a gold pen, like I feel like all through the process you have this intention.
Mm-hmm.
But most important, I want to kind of bring forward is this idea that all along you are choosing. It's almost like dating. Like,
Sure.
like you said, window shopping. Like I'm going to choose a location to window shop and then I'll
Right.
just look from the outside and see if it fits. But you are choosing all the way along. And it isn't until the very final steps that you're inviting the studio to be part of that.
Yes. You know what else I think was a huge help was when I participated in your Finding Your Yoga Niche training, because that for me gave me permission, if you would, to clearly know what I'm offering and why.
Right.
Right? And so I can really clearly get detailed about what my offering is, when I can do it, why I'm doing it. And I think that's all part of the proposal package. I think just having, like you said, that unique offering that's coming through us just as unique human beings on this earth with our own unique gifts, having that clarity really helped give me the confidence to be able to create this and create it with confidence and hand it off to the studio with confidence. And I think the niche workshop that you did, that online training, really helped me get clear on that.
I'm so glad to hear that. That for me feels like the biggest gift. Like not only saying that on the podcast, it's really sweet, but also that I feel like somehow I supported a teacher to go out there and support mothers. Like that is worth every ounce of work that has gone into that training.
Yeah.
Yay. So when do you start?
I'm in the phase right now of marketing. So, right, everything has all these steps. And now that I've chosen a place, now I'm in the phase of marketing it because it is already coming up. It's starting this January. I'm on the 27th and then held monthly throughout the year. And I like to give myself at least 2 months to promote it, at least, right? Start dripping it out there. And so here we are.
Oh, I'm so excited.
That's like a whole other podcast. The marketing part is a whole other podcast. It's just finding that confidence and to not feel like that slimy salesman, but to really market from a place of authenticity. I was speaking with a dear friend about this last night, and I said, I just sometimes feel like I'm just taking up too much space, right, on Facebook or Instagram. I'm not on Instagram, but in those platforms. And I just feel like, I try to find the places that are my Facebook groups that I'm in that have these marketing Mondays, or where you can post your local offerings, or, they're encouraging small businesses to promote. And so I have 5 or 6 of those posted, I have them written down, and then what days they allow you to market, self-promote. But I just said, I was like, I just sometimes feel like I'm taking up so much space and just pushing this on people. But I'm not in your face about it, but sometimes it feels that way. And she said, you know what, Lisa? She's like, what if you didn't let us know this was happening? And people aren't going to know, and they won't have this wonderful opportunity to thrive amid motherhood. And I was like, oh, that's a good reframe, and that totally changed my energy around it. Like, so instead of thinking, oh, I'm taking up space, or oh, I'm slimy salesman, instead thinking, let me let people know what I'm offering so they have the opportunity to show up if this is a good fit for them at this time.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think that there's this real disconnect as well on social media. So it's almost like you're promoting something that's like, come and gather in person with other people, right?
Yes.
So no, not at all. And in that, share part of the journey. Like on one of your posters, there's that candle. If you make that, like, I'm already curious to hear how that's part of things.
Yeah, like the mama projects.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Mama Project's Sacred Motherhood Restorative Practice is meant to be this experiential experience where we can really feel it in our mind, body, and soul, like this holistic self-care experience for mothers to refill their inner wells so they can care for their loved ones from a place of wholeness. And one way I feel we can do that is with these mama projects. And so, for example, in January, the theme is Sacred Motherhood, a deeper layer of intention. Acknowledging the call to the sacred path of motherhood, we call in a deeper layer of intention and create sacred practices for mama. We're going to create malas and learn what a mala is and a mantra, create a personal mantra for ourselves and what a mantra is and how to use this mala, because I feel like the malas are this way, this tangible reminder of whatever our intention through motherhood is, right? That we can use in our own practice of being present as mothers, right? It's something physical that we can see, whether it's on a special place in our room, near our jewelry, or on your nightstand, or even that you wear, just to remember our sacred intention for motherhood, or whatever mantra that the mother creates for themselves. So each month, like in February, we are going to do, it's called Birth, A Mother is Born is the theme. And then we're going to do a sealing ceremony for each mother that is present. Hopefully, if we have enough time. If not, I may just have to select just maybe 2 or 3. But a sealing ceremony is a way to bring closure or seal the birth experience, right? Because in birth, there's such an energy of opening, right? And so we physically seal the mother. So mom will lay in the center. It's so beautiful. There's candles, there's flower petals, and I use scarves and lay them out. There's 7 of them. And then as we collectively, the mothers who are present, we seal her gently, just sealing the scarves with a prayer or a blessing throughout her body, right?
Wow.
So just a way to help close that birth experience. And there's just this beautiful prayer and mantra that goes with each of the particular points on her body.
That's amazing. What a gift.
It's so hard to put into words, but yeah, so that's what we're doing this second month.
I think this is such a gift that you have. Like anybody can hear how excited you are about this and how passionate you are about this. And really, that's all you have to do on social media. You just have to show up and tie in your own story, like how this helped you or why you do this work. And all you're doing is saying, I have this offering. Like it's amazing. So you don't really have to work to sell it.
I'm going to let that sink in. Yeah, that's really beautiful to hear you say that.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for sharing all of this, like how it's broken down so clearly, for sharing the images with our listeners. Is there anything else that you can think of, like, don't do this when you're creating a package, or this helped you as you kind of like the moment where you were sitting at, I need to create this package to describe what I offer? Is there anything that helped you through that work?
I think just being authentic in each of the documents that I created, being concise, being clear, and just trusting the process of it all.
I feel like you also allow enough time.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. I don't do well under pressure. I feel like taking the time to plan and prepare is part of creating that safe and sacred container in the end for the mothers.
Right.
I know that sounds like a leap.
No.
Taking that time, it's just because it allows me to be really present with each step along the way. And I don't feel like I'm frantically like trying to throw something together. Or, like it's just this really intentional, present moment experience rather than try to rush. Or sometimes my enthusiasm will get the best of me. It will like, you know, when you get on that creative idea train and you're like, it's like you have this big, beautiful, grand idea, but there's all these steps to get there. And just being realistic about the launch date, I think, was a really important lesson to learn along the way. It's just being realistic about the launch date and then sort of doing this back planning from there. So I knew my launch date. I like starting this program each time in January. So I kind of know, I want to begin marketing around October, November. I want to have my studio picked out. I want to have time to like feel the space out. So there's just sort of this back planning from the launch date.
Oh, I love that.
Right.
That's so helpful. Also, in any time that I've talked to you, I know that you look forward to that time where your caretaker comes in and you're planning. It's like that's your purposeful planning.
Yes. And I am so protective of that time. Like I'm tempted to like meet a girlfriend for tea or coffee, but I don't because I just save that for another time. But I'm so protective of that sacred creative time. That's my time to do don't you feel like yoga is as much art as it is science? And so whether we're planning a single weekly class or we're planning a retreat or we're planning a workshop, there's an art to it where I feel like there's this connecting to my dharma, connecting to this idea of co-creating with the universe. I'm just this vessel showing up to allow this to come through in this artistic sort of creative way of balanced with the science of yoga as well. But I love that it just lights me up. And I think as a mother, I've become really grateful for that time because that's all it is, Shannon. It's those 6 hours a week and that's for myself, right? And then of course I have this very supported husband, but that's really my time where I feel guilt-free spending time on myself.
Oh, that's so good. Thank you for this. Those are some super gems you've given all the way along this. So thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you for listening and for the opportunity. This was amazing. Thank you.
Well-connected yoga teachers, how is that? I want to hear from you. What are your key takeaways? What are your questions? Are you going to get ready to create a proposal package for your yoga offering? In summary, there are 7 steps that Lisa outlined for her proposal package. First is Google Maps, searching for studios in the location that you want to offer your yoga offering in. Second is virtually researching the studios. Third is choosing classes to attend, aiming for a class that is taught by the owner. Number 4 is attending the classes, noticing everything for your first impression when you walk into the space. Number 5, choosing the studios that most align with your yoga offering. And then number 6, hand delivering the proposal package to those studios. And the very last step, number 7, is mutual interviews with the studios. Thank you so much, Lisa, for summarizing this, for telling us all about it, for providing the PDFs that we can actually look at. Again, to look at those, it's theconnectedyogateacher.com/110. My last key takeaway here is something that I had told Lisa to do, and I tell so many yoga teachers. You are doing the interview just as much as the yoga studio or the chiropractor or the massage clinic or the physio office is doing. You need to make sure that the space that you are teaching in fits your core values and beliefs. If you are inspired by today's episode to create a proposal package, I would love to hear about it in the Connected Yoga Teacher Facebook group. If you are wondering how to work with me further, go to theconnectedyogateacher.com and look under Work with Shannon. Also, if you're looking for the Define Your Yoga Niche course that Lisa talked about, there is a replay version still available, and you can find that on our website under Training and Events. I want to say a shout out of thanks to Raylene, who left a review for the podcast. Raylene said, "Thanks, Shannon, for all you offer to the yoga teachers. I discovered your podcast about a year ago, and it has become my go-to podcast, especially when I need inspiration. There's such a wide variety of relevant topics with so many tangible takeaways that I can use to enhance my yoga business and my yoga practice. I'm very grateful to you and to your guests for sharing your expertise." Raylene goes on to say that she really enjoyed the episode with Matt Kowald on building habits, so I will put a link to that one in our show notes. Another episode that goes along really well with this proposal package is how to get hired by a yoga studio. So if you feel like you make your proposal package and then you want to get hired specifically by a yoga studio, these 2 episodes go hand in hand. Thank you so much to our entire team at the Connected Yoga Teacher, Samantha, Suzanne, Crunch, and Cindy. All of you are so amazing, and you make each and every podcast possible. Thank you, dear listener, for taking the time to tune in, to build your yoga business, and to share your yoga. It is making such a difference, and sometimes you don't even know the difference that it's making. So I want to know, what will you be doing this week to stay connected to yourself, to your practice, and to your community, so that you can share the yoga that lights you up?